episode of Film in Minnesota. My name is Rahana Power.
I'm Alan Tracy.
And we have a very, very dear friend of mine on the show today. I'm very excited about this. Miss Cynthia Uhrich.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm very excited.
Thanks for having me. I was wondering why it took you so long to invite me.
It's amazing how few people you go through when you do a show every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we had like a list when we
I'm
started.
Sure have lots of
and
people.
we're still not even done with that list. And I'm like, well, I expected to be done with this like 6 months
Yeah. Your name is on our hashtag board that we started with
when we were
first started.
recording this whole plan. So yeah, this has been
so
in the
thoughtful.
works.
I was just giving you a hard time.
Okay, so we're gonna jump in.
Okay.
Can you hear that? Okay, so we're gonna random. We're gonna jump in with our fun question first.
Okay.
What is a fun, random, interesting, silly talent that you may have, whether others may or may not know about?
Well, I don't know if it's silly or fun.
Okay.
But it's fun to me. I do a lot of writing besides screenwriting. I like to write short stories.
Oh.
And I'm really excited because I completed my first novel.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's being published by University of Minnesota Press.
Wow.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I wrote it with a famous musician here from the Twin Cities.
Can you
And
say
I know,
who?
Well, he has started posting things, so I guess I can say it's Brown Mark from the Revolution.
Oh wow.
So that's really exciting. This is his memoir. And it's really exciting because I get to have my name on the cover too.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it wasn't strictly a ghostwriting situation.
Right.
So that's really exciting. And now I'm looking for my next subject to work with to help them to write their memoir or biography.
Yeah.
And if anyone knows how to get in touch with Lizzo, please let me know.
Yes.
I think she's so fascinating.
Well, if you know Jennifer Lopez, then of course, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, Lizzo
yeah.
is going to be here, I think, next week for a
really?
concert. So you just have to find out
I
where
have
she's
to
going to be
figure out.
and
I
just
have to-
accidentally run into her.
Or who that guy in the Minnesota Vikings is.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
Which one of
One
them
of
it is. And her music is popping up all over on television shows and stuff, you know?
That's how I
She's just awesome.
first heard of her. I was watching, it was a movie that Jamie had actually told me to watch on Netflix. I think Someone Great or something like that, which is an excellent movie.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And her song, one of her big songs recently is in that. And so I just immediately Googled her and I just started downloading her music and it was amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
The one that she did with Carolyn Smith also opened one of, I can't remember the name of the show, Lena Dunham, her show. Yeah.
Oh, Girls?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Girls.
cool.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
exciting. Yeah.
She was in that? Lizzo? Or
Her music.
Her
her
music.
music. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Let 'em
Her
say.
music.
Oh.
That's
Let
awesome.
him say.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah.
She's amazing. But that's so cool.
Yeah,
Going
thanks.
back to
Thanks.
your
It's
writing.
it's pretty exciting, and now I can't wait to see it on bookshelves, and hopefully lots of people will buy it.
Absolutely.
Because I get some royalties. So
Do you
that would
That's
be
the
nice.
name of
does
the
it
game.
give you any ideas to when it'll be on bookshelves?
I
or
think
not
it's
really?
going to be fall next year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really long process.
Interesting.
I mean, it took us, I think, just under 3 years to get it all written, and then to take it through one phase of editing. There was another phase of editing, and now the publishers have to go through their editing too.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's exciting. And actually, I have, it's exciting because they also publish Lorna Landvik's books.
Oh,
So I
perfect.
just feel
Yeah.
like it's just kind of got me tickled, I got to tell you.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of pinching myself. I feel really fortunate. But I've worked really hard, and the dots just really oddly got connected. It's from a friend from many, many years ago when I worked at GameWorks here in downtown
Oh,
Minneapolis.
right.
I met someone who was the head of security at Paisley Park and was Prince's bodyguard for many years. So anyways, so through that friendship and doing some blog writing and writing some true Prince stories for him, he provided samples of my writing to Mark, and then that's kind of how it happened. So
That's amazing.
yeah, and I'd like to say it's all just lucky coincidence, but I really don't think it is. I think it's more something that I teach my acting students is to get in the flow of things, to constantly be putting yourself in places and learning things, and vision boards. Mm-hmm. I believe in that kind of stuff too. I believe in manifesting. Yes. And so you also have to do the hard work, of honing your craft and everything else. But I think getting yourself into a certain creative flow draws towards you projects and people that help to perpetuate the flow.
Absolutely.
That probably sounds totally California nutty.
Not at all. I completely
very
from California, but I completely agree with all that.
Yeah.
And plus, like, building those relationships over time.
Right.
Like you just said, it's from, this started from someone you knew from so long ago.
Right.
Like, the relationships that you build.
Right.
I mean, first of all, you shouldn't be building a relationship just because you think you're going to get something from it. But, like, the relationships that you build over time can come back to be some huge thing that you just never expect.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
you just don't know. I mean, I had an acting teacher when I was in Los Angeles who said you need to start to think about the planting seeds to grow the oaks.
Yes.
That's true.
That you can't just think that you're going to suddenly be a filmmaker or a writer or an actor, that you have to plant small seeds and then you have to nurture those seeds. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, that's where I think they fail, is that they don't continue to nurture and grow and, really make that dream sharper and clearer and put in the time and the work. And that's really what it's about,
Absolutely.
And I'm not a kid anymore. I've been doing this for a long time. So it's really fun to have all of it starting to really pay off.
Absolutely.
So, it's an exciting time.
Yes.
So what kind of stories do you write? Short stories?
Short
like,
stories?
Are they, what type of?
A lot of them involve animals.
Okay.
I love cats. A lot of them have to do with relationships, odd relationships, relationships that might be on the darker side. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. I'm kind of all over the place, even with the scripts that I write.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're really warm and fuzzy. The Z-Fest film that I'm writing right now is darkly comedic.
Huh.
And it's kind of got a message.
What's it called?
Okay.
We're still working
or
on the
title. Working title,
but
whatever.
The working title is, now I'm going to not remember it because I've just been writing it over the past 3 weeks and I'm not locked into the title.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So it's like a dark comedy.
It is.
Sorta.
It is.
Okay.
Oh, it's called Misplaced Trust.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah. I like that though.
Yeah.
Makes you think right there.
Yeah. And those are I feel like dark comedies are really fun.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
So that's fun.
Yeah, it's weird when you have a dark sense of humor and like you're watching a dramatic film and you laugh at something that's like darkly humor and no one else is laughing in the theater with you.
Yes.
Or even like the dry humor where people like something happens and that no one else gets that's that they're being like.
Yeah. It's a tension breaker, not meant to be taken.
Right.
And a funny story, I remember when I lived in Los Angeles, I was watching Fargo. And I had grown up in the Midwest and spent time in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it was a full crowd. And when it came to the parts where the guys were in the snorkelers and they're looking up and saying, it looks like it's going to snow, and all of that, like spots throughout the audience, we were laughing. And I was like, oh, God, they know. But most of the audience was not laughing. Like they didn't think that was funny at all. But I was like, okay, that person must be from the Midwest. And down in the front, there's it was just a few of us, a sprinkling of people that were laughing who understood that was funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way with like the recent Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with all the little Hollywood references that people who've lived in LA could understand.
I need to see that.
Yeah.
Because, that is a completely different world.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really hard to explain to somebody who hasn't spent time there what that is like,
what La Cienega is like, and what like.
Oh, and when I first got there, I remember going up to someone and saying, can you give me directions to Sepulveda Boulevard? Sepulveda. And the person looked at me and said, you mean Sepulveda? I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was just such a dork. And then after a while, you actually do start to pick up even the little accents. So then I'm saying Sepulveda.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially as an actor, you pick that stuff up. I feel like even quicker.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're from the Midwest.
I
You
am.
moved to LA. Tell us your story.
My story. Oh my gosh. Well, I wasn't there terribly long. I think I was there for about 8 years. I had honed my skills in the Twin Cities first after graduating from college with my degree in theater, and did a lot of plays and theater and commercials here in the Twin Cities. And then I went to Jacksonville and did more of the same for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then decided I was ready to hit California. And it was actually, I went with someone I was seeing at the time, and our plan had been to, get there together. And that actually wound up not happening at the 11th hour, so I went by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I was on my own. It was really shocking experience to come from the Midwest to be there. And it took a while. It took a long while for stuff to get going, but I right away enrolled in classes. And that helped to build my confidence. And I met some great teachers. And then luckily I got an agent right away. And it was really funny because I tell people this story. My very first meeting with an agent, I showed up with a little bit of a reel that I had that included scenes from college and commercials. And I had my little resume, but luckily I did have some film and some things on it. So it wasn't like I was completely new. And I'd already gotten my SAG and my AFTRA card.
Oh, wow.
AFTRA in the Twin Cities and SAG in Florida. So I show up, and I also had a little portfolio with clippings from all of the shows that I did, and I highlighted the comments that were made about my performance.
Aww.
And of course, when they opened this little portfolio, they gave me that look like, "Oh, you're so quaint. You're such a Midwest girl." And I felt like kind of an idiot, but I signed with the very first agent I met with. So I was doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though in hindsight, I realized that they must have just thought I was just like a little turnip off the truck. But it worked.
Right.
So,
That's what matters.
You know, and I guess that maybe they saw there was passion and, that I had put in the hard work.
Yeah.
And the thing about Los Angeles that a lot of people don't know, and I heard this from countless agents and casting directors, was how much they respect theater on actors' resumes, because it really speaks to the amount of preparation that goes into a role. It speaks to the ability to collaborate with people and work together over long periods of time.
Right.
The commitment to doing a show that lasts 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Being professional, being on time. So when I'm teaching, I tell my students, don't discount the theater, because I constantly got comments from people about how good it was to see theater on an actor's resume.
Right.
So
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
what year did you move to LA? What year was it?
let me think back a minute. I think it was 89.
Okay. And you moved from Florida to
Yes.
LA directly like that. Oh, wow.
Yep. I was here right after college. I had been married. That didn't work out. I went to Florida for 2 years, and then I went to LA. I
Okay.
was out there for about 8 years. I was fortunate enough to get some parts, which was really fun. I got to do Star Trek.
Which is awesome.
I was
What?
yeah.
Tell
I was
us more.
Well, I was a Starfleet officer,
Oh.
which was really fun. The whole process was really fascinating.
Uh-huh.
Those uniforms were $3,000 a piece and required 3 fittings, and they took measurements of things that I didn't know they would measure on your body.
In a
Yes.
what,
Yes, because those uniforms have to fit just so.
Yeah.
right.
And so that was really fun.
Which
And then I had a recurring role on Passions,
okay.
Which
just
I also love.
under 5s.
I don't know what passion
That means
is.
under
It's
5 lines.
It's a soap opera.
Soap opera,
It's a-
right?
Yeah,
okay.
Passions was a soap
It was a
opera.
phenomenal
So
soap opera.
yeah,
Back to Star Trek. Next Generation, I assume, right?
Enterprise,
Oh, Enterprise.
the very last one. Yeah, the one that
Oh.
nobody likes.
Oh. What episode, though?
I mean,
what?
people like it. You
I
still
was
get
on the
fan mail
first
from it,
season.
don't you?
I
First
did
season.
for a long time. I did. I would get fan mail. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
People would send me like my picture that they had downloaded. with a
Yes.
note
Which is very strange.
wanting my autograph.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it was really funny. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
It was
Adorable.
very bizarre.
No, once you're in like a Star Trek or Star Wars, you're cemented into that like
I know.
that
It's,
world basically.
it's the
You're like
Trek
Han Solo
universe.
stuck in that
Yeah.
carbon. But
So-
no, yeah.
You are in LA for 8.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
What drives you to come home or back to the Twin Cities at least?
Oh.
Like why here versus trying New York or Atlanta or
Oh,
anything?
well, I love the Twin Cities. It was affordable. I hate the winter. That's the only thing.
Mhm.
The winters, it's not for me. But
Yeah.
it was affordable to live here. There was a thriving theater scene,
Mhm.
lots of art. And at that time, when I had left, there was tons of commercial work and film going on. Unfortunately, when I got back, a lot of that had kind of disappeared. It's not the same
Right.
market that it used to be. So that was kind of a disappointing thing to understand.
Yeah.
But also, you know, while I was in Florida, in LA, all of my grandparents passed away. My sister had her children, and I missed her having, you know, those babies. And
Yeah.
I just sort of felt like I wanted to be closer to home, and that the Twin Cities was a good place to be with my family, to be near my family so I could visit a little more often.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, nobody ever came out to Los Angeles to visit me, which I find so strange. But
Yeah.
my family's kind of funny that way. They don't like to fly and they don't like to travel.
Yeah.
It's just how they are. I'm just the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and I knew it would be a good place to come back to, and it's been great.
Mhm.
I have no regrets coming back. I have no regrets that I went to LA and tried.
Right.
I feel like anybody who feels they want to hit a bigger market, they should try.
Yeah.
They should
Yeah.
definitely try. I didn't want to be an old lady and saying, "Why didn't I just
Right.
try?"
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want to kick myself for not giving it a shot.
Right.
And I got to do some really fun things, and I had a good time, and I had some great teachers who really helped me to develop my skills and gave me a lot of confidence. And then I came back here and started teaching.
And she is a phenomenal teacher.
Oh, thank you.
So,
thank
yeah,
you very much.
Heads up on that.
And Rahana was one of my students.
Yeah.
That's how I met Cynthia.
Yes.
I met you because I met Jamie and she was like, if you want to do this, you have to take her classes.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. And that's all that I did for like 2 years, take your classes and learn. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right.
That's
And-
Jamie Janik.
Yeah.
My friend Jamie Janik,
Yep.
who's back.
And she is.
She's back. I'm very excited. I haven't gotten a chance to see her yet. I've just been really busy. But
yeah. You're both really busy.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's funny.
Mm-hmm.
She's a funny, funny lady.
She is.
I hope that lots of people watch her stuff because she's terrific. Gin
Right.
Blow. I'll give her a
Yes.
shout out.
Oh, yeah.
GINBLO. Gin Blow
Hilarious.
Productions.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said that. I remember just like when like Mighty Ducks, Grumpy Old Men, all these things were here
Yeah.
when we had the incentive, basically.
Yes.
And then, yeah, like you said, it just kind of evaporated overnight. Well, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not what it was.
yeah,
It's
like
really not. And I actually abdicated my SAG and AFTRA memberships because there just wasn't enough to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like my own skills as an actor, because I'm a performer too, were kind of atrophying, and I wasn't getting stuff for my reel. You know, so I just decided, and it was a really difficult decision because I was pro-union, and
Right.
still with my production company, I still will, you know, if there's certain actors that I really want to work with, I will do those contracts.
Yeah.
It's kind of a pain. It's not a horrible, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit of extra work.
it is.
But, you know, some of the talent is really worth the extra work.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I mean, I did that with my last film, and I have no regrets, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of an investment because it's almost like a badge of honor because it's like they're in this, you know, for the long haul, not
Right.
just a
Right.
passing actor that may or may not, you know, stick with it. So
Exactly.
it's kind of that way. At least that's sometimes how I can, you know, tell that they're, because I know what those union dues cost. So it's just
Yeah,
like,
it's expensive to join.
yeah,
Yeah. The annual dues aren't terrible, but it's really expensive to join. So if there isn't enough going on to offset, you know, that initial expense, and if you don't feel like you're able to get steady enough work for your
right.
reel and your resume, then you're not staying sharp either, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a hard decision, but it's really funny because the moment I gave it up, I started working. I was getting cast, and
Yep.
I was like, okay. Yeah, I was working. I wasn't making the union wages, but I was working. So it felt like the right decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your production company.
Yes.
So tell us how you went from acting and teaching to your production company.
Well, honestly, it occurred to me, about, 15 years ago already. I started thinking about the future and how, a lot of the acting is, roles are for women and women of a certain age. And when you get to be another certain age, there's less and less for you to do. So I started realizing that I kind of need to reinvent myself. And I love like every single aspect of this business, everything. I love all of it. So I decided that I would start my own production company, and kind of dovetailing off of teaching classes to students on filmmaking, acting for the camera. And through those classes, I was able to do what I do best, which is work with actors and direct them, but then also create film projects so they could have something for their reel. And simultaneously, I was teaching myself production because I'd only been in front of the camera. So it was a kind of a great way for me to get the bills paid, be helping actors to hone their skills and to develop stuff for their own reels.
Right.
And then for me to learn how to be a filmmaker because I don't have any formal training. So I did several of those kinds of projects, and then decided it was time to, create a production company, In the Moment Films, for women. And the mission statement is to provide filmmaking opportunities for women, both in front of and behind the camera, and to create original content and projects that are socially relevant. That say something, uplift people, focus on particular issues, perhaps related to women. Code Green is based on the true story of a young woman's eating disorder. And it's just kind of wonderfully, surprisingly taken off, and it's going really, really well.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You've had quite
a few. And I pay
films.
actors and I pay crew.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and you've done quite a few films through your production companies.
I have. I'm now waiting for another entity to hire me. So I don't have to do all the heavy lifting on all my own projects.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing this and you need a director, info@inthemomentstudio.biz.
There you go. Email now.
Yeah.
And go.
Well, that's great for establishing something for women both in front and behind the camera, because that's kind of a big deal, especially behind the camera now.
Oh, yeah.
I've been following Emily Skye on Instagram, and she had this whole thing that some women who are working with cameras and everything, people accuse them of being camera models as opposed to actual DPs and everything.
Yeah.
But they're actually doing the work. So it's kind of one of those things where it's women still aren't being taken seriously.
No, it's really challenging. And if you look at the statistics, the number of films that have women at the helm is ridiculously small. I think it's something like 12% of all of the top box office movies are being made by women. So, so we need to open it up because there's lots of women who are really talented. And I love working with women because women are great communicators and well organized.
Yep.
And perhaps, too, because there are so few opportunities, they work a little harder, if that makes sense. They don't take things for granted.
Yes, yeah.
So, and just communicators, I don't have to poke them 3 times to return an email, And I'm not meaning to speak disparagingly of guys, because there's some great guys out there too, and I've worked with some wonderful, wonderful people. But it's just a different mode of working, just a different mindset with women.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love that. I love that mission. We were just talking a little bit ago about Big Little Lies, and I love that makes me think of Reese Witherspoon's production company too.
Yeah, she's my hero.
Yeah, that's the whole point, is for women to support women behind and in front of the camera, making the kind of content that we can relate to on top of
Right.
anything. Because,
Right.
I mean, I think we've discussed with a few other guests how, like, sometimes if a man is writing a role for a woman, he doesn't necessarily know the right perspective, and so
Right.
it doesn't actually relate.
Right.
Whereas having
Right.
women on in every like aspect of the filmmaking process, that way you can really get
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. But I also try to include other people in the process of screenwriting too, to make sure that I am getting things right. You know, with the Alzheimer's film,
Absolutely.
Robert in the Bedroom, it was really important to me to get it right. I mean, I had my own personal encounters with individuals with Alzheimer's, but I didn't know as much about it as I thought I did. And I took my first draft of my script. Well, actually, it wasn't my first draft. It was probably my fifth. But it was at the point where it was ready for someone to look at it. And I actually worked with 2 women, one a doctor and one a nurse, who worked with the geriatric population quite intensely. And got the script to them to get their feedback. And they were great. And they were truthful. And they said, yeah, no, you got this wrong. This part's wrong. This wouldn't happen. This is, so, you know, you have to do that kind of work when you're trying to figure out, you know, and it some people might think, well, what does that really matter? You know, like I have something right now where I don't want to talk too much about it, but you know, it's important that I know what certain elements are, and I have to go online and do the research to make sure that it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Even though nobody will ever really know what this certain something is, I feel like I need to know.
Yes.
You know, it needs to be right.
Right.
That's interesting, because I think about Argo for something like that, where it's like some of these things are embellished to make it a film, make it a better film, but then other things are like true to what actually happened. So
Right. Yeah, you have to find the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same with memoir, you know, because we cannot actually remember every single thing.
Right.
If you look back, if you were to tell your story. So there's a certain amount of those key points that you really recognize, and then the rest you kind of have to fill it in and make it an interesting read.
Right.
You know, or an interesting film.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
For sure. I guess so. You have a production company. You teach classes, right?
Yes.
Are you still teaching, or?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. I still
Tell
teach.
us about that. What is?
Yeah, what
your
drives you
class
to
like?
continue teaching? You're so busy with so many things.
I am busy, but it's because I love it all, you know. And I'm pretty good at managing my time somehow. I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm crazy, and sometimes I drop a ball. It rarely happens, but it does.
Right.
I'm also a Virgo, and I'm kind of crazy driven, but I've always been like that. I mean, I wrote and directed my first play when I was in the 3rd grade.
Oh.
So, you know, and did the costumes and did everything.
Yeah.
So this is just always like, this is just me. But I love teaching because I'm constantly inspired by actors, and I'm constantly reminded of how brave actors are. And I get a chance to continually practice communicating, like how to help an actor to reach an emotional state, or to make the text more truthful, or to find the layers in a role. So by me continually working with actors in that way, I feel like it kind of keeps me sharp and on my toes for when I'm on a set, so that I'm flexible and prepared. And I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of selfish. I mean, it also helps me to pay the bills, but you know, it's and the other thing is, there is nothing better than when I see an aha moment from an actor, when like the light goes on and they get something, or they gain some new nugget that is going to help them to be better, or they've got a new tool in their belt, or they have that breakthrough in a scene and experience something they've never experienced before. I mean, I know how it feels myself to have that moment that you just know you're flying, and there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
Absolutely.
And in the long run, I feel too, like even if people don't go on to pursue this as a career. I think everybody should take an acting class at some point in their life to become more confident, to be more in touch with themselves and how they feel about things, and to be able to articulate that and to be able to communicate with other people emotionally and to be heard and to be seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I literally think about that. One of the first few classes that I took with you, we did a number of different exercises, and it was years ago when I took, years ago. And I still think about those exercises when I'm getting into an emotionally stunted state.
Awesome.
And I think back to that, and I go through that, and
Awesome.
it's amazing how well it helps you with life, even if you aren't practicing.
Oh yeah.
It really is.
I
agree. I fully agree.
Well, I'm really, really glad to hear that. That's the kind of thing that a teacher always wants to hear. And that's I have to give a shout out to my acting coach in Los Angeles, Alan Feinstein. I was with him for 3 years, and he has been really influential in my life. He's the person who made me feel like I maybe could do this. And he's the one who encouraged me to teach when I came back here to the Twin Cities. And I always say that he had a big impact on my life, and to think that someone like you just said that to me just kind of warms my heart. So thank you.
You definitely have.
Thank you.
100%. So you are an actress, and you're a teacher, and you are a director and editor and writer and everythinger. Is there something that you have not done that you want to do, that you would like to dip your toe into?
Well, I've dabbled in wardrobe. I love wardrobe. I wish I could sew. That would be the one thing I wish I knew how to make things. But I love putting things together. I love hunting down the right period costumes and, all of that. That was something I'd like to get more into. I have done some art direction. I really loved that too. Especially if there's a budget. That's really nice. When there's not. Well, for all of these things, when there's not, it's a really huge challenge.
Right.
I feel really fortunate. I also get to do some teaching. I work with people at the Wilder Foundation who have dementia and Alzheimer's and teach classes. And it's a challenge. It's very much in the moment with them because they cannot remember the things that they've learned from the class before. So they can't really build on the skills, but in the time that we are working with those clients, they are having the time of their life, and they are the center of attention. And a lot of them are doing something they've always wanted to do, and it just makes them feel really good.
That's amazing.
And at the end of all of the classes, there's some sort of a presentation that always goes on, and they have a chance to get in front of all of the other clients at Wilder and their family and friends, and to see their faces when they're getting applause and people are laughing and having a good time while they're performing. It's really incredibly rewarding. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's I feel very fortunate, I really do. I feel like I'm getting to do so many things that bring me so much joy. And I'm not rich, I'm not wealthy, but I have a great loft that I can afford, that I love, in Lowertown, St. Paul, and I have cool friends, and I have things to do that are constantly fascinating, and the landscape is always changing.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. It's never the same, which really suits my personality, because I tend to get pretty easily bored once I master a regular job.
Yeah.
I kind of just grow super weary of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they want to try to promote me to something where I would have more responsibility, but then that would take me away from all the other things that I actually really care about.
Enjoy, yeah.
So it's hard being me in some ways.
This is just the perfect world for
But right
you.
now it is, and I feel incredibly lucky. I kind of pinch myself every day. And sometimes it's really exhausting because the days can be really, really long. And sometimes I can't shut my brain off for all of the ideas that I have and all the things that I want to do. And at this age, I already feel like time is nipping at my heels. So I am very motivated to keep making projects and keep doing things. I'm probably never going to be famous, but that was never, ever even a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I just felt like, well, I used to say if I could write all day and then draw and paint all night, because I do draw too. I'm an artist, or photography. I would be happy. Like that would be it.
Absolutely.
So to just have a completely creatively fulfilled life, I feel really lucky.
Yeah. And that should be the goal. Like to be able to do what you love forever should be the goal, rather than I want to get rich and famous off of this. Like, because then you're going into it with the wrong intentions.
And that's a lot of pressure. And actually, having been, like you said, in Hollywood and how weird it is, I would never actually want to be famous.
No.
I don't know. I think that's got to be like the biggest burden ever. And
I believe it.
Just seeing how people would get swarmed and the lack of privacy. And I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert who knows how to flip a switch and become an extrovert.
Right.
But at heart, I am definitely an introvert, and I need to recharge, like shut down and recharge and be alone. So a lot of people are surprised to hear that, but it's the truth.
I feel like a lot of really creative people are like that, though.
Yeah.
Like even a lot of the people that we've had on the show, I'm like that. Like it's like you can turn it on because you care so much about the craft and about the people that you're working with.
Yep.
But you definitely have to turn it off at
Oh,
some point.
yes.
And like,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to have long extended periods of time with people. I love animals.
Yep.
And I know that I'm, I don't know. It's funny that I find myself in this business because I don't feel like I'm the type of person who would be. I was never one of those people who walked in and everyone goes, "Oh, that must be an actor." I was always very quiet, But I remember doing a workshop with a casting director, and I'd been very quiet and listening and watching and taking it all in. And it was my turn to get up in front of everyone and do my work. And she said, "I'm really excited to see what you're going to do." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yep." And I did my stuff, and she said, "Wow, it's exactly what I thought." She said, "I knew you were going to be really, really terrific. And what are you doing here? Get to LA now."
Wow.
Which was an extraordinary thing to hear, this little introverted person.
Right.
And I talked to her later, and she said, "Well, it was because I could tell that you were processing everything, that you were deeply connecting to what you were seeing, and that you were taking it all in, and that it wasn't going to be some kind of a superficial thing that you were going to give us." And so she is actually the reason that I wound up going to LA about 6 months later.
Wow.
Yeah, that I just needed that little push off the cliff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Catherine Laughlin, she was a big casting director out of New York. So that was a real turning point. And sometimes you need those people to give you that push.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so that way you're not just in your own head about it. You have
Right.
that outside.
yeah. Yeah, and plus I was 29, and she was like, "Don't waste another minute," And I realized when I got there what she meant, because it's such a youth-based business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had my time out there.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Those things get you through some hard times, I think. Like those little, like
nudges?
you said, push. Yeah. Whatever they are.
Yeah. I call them nudges from the universe,
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes I ask for them too. Sometimes when I've been at those low points, and I'm sure many creative people get to this place where you're saying to yourself, I don't know. I don't think I can do this anymore.
Right.
This sucks. This nothing, And I'll ask, give me a sign that I'm supposed to be continuing on this path. And I am not kidding you. A sign always shows up. And I don't think it's just because I'm looking for it, because I've been like in the depths of despair.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, talking to people about like, how am I going to get out of this place? Because I get so sad or depressed about how difficult it can be. But I don't know. Every time I've asked for it with a really open heart and a sincere willingness to hear and listen and see that sign, a sign shows up. And it's not a little something. It's usually something bizarre and completely random out of the most unexpected place.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, there we go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you don't ask for things, you don't receive things. And that's been one of the most valuable lessons that I've gotten in the last probably 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
is to ask the universe for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I know I sound California fruity nutty again, but it's not even actually a California thing anymore.
It's not. No.
No.
It's an Arizona thing, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so, you know, ask for what you need. You know, you be prepared to do the hard work.
Right.
It comes with receiving.
Yeah.
But, you know, opening up and being available and actually asking for it and visualizing it is incredibly important.
Mm-hmm.
The other important thing, I think, is not to limit yourself, because oftentimes when I hear people, they come back from LA or something, it's like, I failed.
Oh,
but it's like,
yeah.
there's no rule that says you can't try again, you know. It's you get unlimited tries as long as you're here, you know. It's just like it's just like doing a season of football, you know. You have wins and losses, but you know, there's always a new season coming up, you know. You can always retry. It's
and also, you know, reinventing yourself. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who love so many aspects of the business that maybe you're not supposed to be an actor. Maybe you're sort of on the right path, but there's a diverging fork, and you should explore that. You know, maybe you go back to school and take writing classes, screenwriting classes, or maybe you know, join a group and dabble in something, or maybe you volunteer to just even be a production assistant and get a little bit of knowledge, or, you know, be an assistant doing art direction. I think a lot of people don't understand, too, that you can't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to make money, pay me people.
Right.
You know, you have to really go into it volunteering. And volunteering to be on productions is the best way to build your network and to build a resume and, you know, being willing to learn and not get paid for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredibly important.
Absolutely.
It is, yeah. Some of the best friends I made out in LA, that, like when you said earlier you plant seeds, was for a pilot. So it was like one of those things where it's like I had to volunteer my time more so. But I have great connections that have grown in the industry out there. You know,
Absolutely.
And thanks to like social media, you can still keep up with what they're up to and vice versa. So.
And, you know, you don't know where the things that you are doing when you're in the flow, like we were talking about, you don't know where or when something will come back around to you. And like with Lorna Landvik's project, the Oh My Stars short film, which I'm excited to say is screening at the Twin Cities Film Fest.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm really excited. You know, that happened because I was teaching a class at the Jewish Community Center on commercials, and a woman who came to the last few classes of the 6 weeks, we got to be friendly. She liked me. She liked my personality. She was learning a lot from me. And we just had a really nice rapport. And as it turns out, she's in a group that Lorna Landvik is part of. And Lorna happens to mention to her that no one has ever, her films have been optioned, but none of them have ever been made. And some really big names have been attached to those options, but none of the films were never made. And she was kind of, you know, disparaging and sad about the fact that she's got these great novels and stories. And so Jan steps in and says, well, I know someone. Would you like to meet her to maybe talk about what you might do? And so we had several meetings. I showed her some of my work. And the next thing you know, I'm getting to direct this wonderful project. She wrote the screenplay, and it's based on her novel of the same name, Oh My Stars. And that break came because of doing this other project that was not in any way connected. But I think it's because you're in the flow and you're showing up. And that's kind of how it happens, you know?
Really focusing on what you're doing and the craft and the task at hand versus what am I going to be doing later? Like, is this going to benefit that?
Right.
Like,
right.
That's,
You just don't know where it's going to come from.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that's the difference between, like, I heard a talk once about, like, the difference between a butcher and a gardener. Like, a butcher will, like, cut everything to the bone, like, everything that you need now, you know, whereas a gardener will, like, plant things and make it flourish and grow
Right.
as opposed to like what is good for me right now, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Oh My Stars will be screening at the Twin Cities Film Festival, you
It
said.
will be.
And
It
then
will be.
what other...
Right now, I cannot remember the date. Oh, and then I have another film at the Twin Cities Film Fest.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, with Rudy Pavich, who actually was a former student.
Yep.
So this is,
Oh.
again, how you
Yep.
never know how these funny dots end up getting connected. So he studied with me, oh gosh, I think maybe 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was
now?
years ago, because that's where I met Rudy.
Yes,
Is in your class, yeah.
Yeah. So he started taking classes with me. He's a on-air radio personality. He's a great guy. I just love him to death. He's just a sweetheart. And, we've kind of stayed in touch. And he mentioned offhand that he had written a script. And I, right away, because I know he's a funny guy and he's a terrific actor, I said, you know what? I don't know if you have a director, but I would love to direct your project. And so we did that 2 months after Oh My Stars last summer. In August, we shot Everyone Goes in the Lake. And it's a very dark, romantic comedy. It's kind of strange and funny. And, and I directed and produced with him, and we made it happen, and it got into the Twin Cities Film Fest. So
That's so exciting.
I'm just kind of pinching myself because I've been trying for a while to get into that festival. So the timing, I guess, and the projects just were right this time. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What's
So
it called again?
Everyone Goes in the Lake.
Okay, and is it a short film or
It's
is
a short.
Okay, so it'll be in a block probably, right?
It is. It is.
Do you know what day? Is it
One
a
of them,
Monday
okay,
or
I think
Tuesday?
October 19th is Oh My Stars, and I believe the 22nd is
Oh yeah, huh?
Everyone Goes in the Lake.
Okay,
Okay.
But if you go online, you can find them.
okay.
If you look in the short blocks, you can find them. Yeah.
That's so exciting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm just like over the moon. So
Do
now
you-
my next goal is I really want to get something that I really want to get an award.
Yes. That's where
That's
Z
the
Fest
next-
is going to come in.
Well, we hope. That would be
Yeah.
nice.
That would be so fun.
But every project is like it's really hard to make films. I'm just going to say that, and it's really hard to make good films, and it's incredibly hard to make great films.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that you can manage and think you have control of, but it's just like this magical poo-poo platter
Yeah.
of delicious, tasty bites that all have to somehow come together, and it has to everyone has to be really, really great at what they do, and you have to have a great script to start with, and it's kind of like really a magical thing to be able to make something great.
Absolutely.
And so I'm aspiring to make something great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have those 2 films that are out now, essentially, you're about to screen.
Yes.
Do you have any other films that you have either just finished up or you are about to make, or?
Well, Code Green is still on the festival circuit, and just got accepted to a small festival in Vallejo, California.
Okay.
Vallejo?
Vallejo? Yeah, I couldn't think for a minute how to say it.
I only know because of that Fincher movie, The Zodiac. So
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, it sounds like,
Vallejo.
Vallejo.
up in Bay
That's
Area,
right.
yeah.
And I didn't want to say the L's. I wanted to say Vallejo.
I know,
Which
yeah,
I think is probably the right way to say it, but I'm not sure. But anyways.
I just follow whatever Mark Ruffalo said. So
And I'm really excited about that film. I think it's a really important message. And I'm working on a Z-Fest film.
Yeah.
This will be my first time directing and producing. And Z-Fest film.
Yeah.
I have written for it in the past. So this is my first time doing that, and I'm kind of scared because the Z-Fest films are really good, and there's some amazing people that are involved. But I just throw my hat in the ring because this is how we stay sharp.
Right.
Absolutely.
You don't get better at being a filmmaker
Touché.
by not making films.
Right. Yeah. Plus, where's the fun in that?
And and plus exactly, and that's the fun. And I'm really looking forward to this one too because oddly I feel less pressure than I did with it's like Myrna's film, because that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to let people down. And of course I never want to let people down, but I really am making a commitment this time to relax a little more and to have more fun and enjoy these actresses who I just adore. And I love my cinematographer. I've worked with her before. And I'm going to really use this film as my chance to kind of chill into all of this and to just trust that all of the things that I've been learning, making all of these projects, is just going to be there in my back pocket, and that I get to just, enjoy it and not stress about it. So I'm working really hard now in pre-production to help make everything even more smooth than the other productions have been, and to just really take a stance of being chill. It's the only word I can use. I just want to relax into it now. There's been a lot of tension and a lot of worry because, you're kind of having to prove yourself. And especially since I've gotten to work with some really top-notch people who I really respect and admire, and who I don't want to look like an idiot around. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's just, I feel like I'm ready to have that level of fun. I really admire Greg Winter. He's been my cinematographer on 2 projects, and he has such a great kind of mellow attitude and confidence. And if I can get to be like that, I would be a really happy gal.
I think that's a great goal.
Yeah. That's the plan anyways. We'll see how it goes.
I love it. So you tell us about the genres of the movies that you've made so far. Is there something that you haven't done? I don't know, just any a romantic comedy. You just said you did a dark romantic comedy. Anything that you haven't dove into that you want to.
I've never done horror, but I'm not a huge fan of horror.
Yeah.
But I think it would be really fun to do some sort of a psychological horror thriller.
That could be cool.
And I'm kind of dabbling in that just a little bit with Z-Fest. That's kind of a transitional film thinking about. And I also have a feature film that I really want to make that's kind of outrageous and funny, but also has a really heartfelt message. Yeah. And that's called Hot Dish. And that's in the works. That's the goal is, I've been doing all of these short films because ultimately I really want to do a feature. Yeah. I want to be a part of Film Fatale, the group of women here in the Twin Cities who have all done a feature film as a director. Oh. I've done one as an assistant director, but never as a director.
Yeah. What is this?
So it's called Film Fatale. See, now I give you a new lead. Yeah. So Carrie Bush is involved with that. Melody Gilbert. There's several women in the Twin Cities. I think Molly Worry Katagiri might also be part of that group. But it's a group of women who all have the cachet of having done a feature-length film. So that's kind of a notch on my belt that I really want to get.
Absolutely.
It's the next step up. But you have to get really good at short films and understand how all of it works before taking on a feature. Yeah. And it also requires a ton of money. I was going to say something naughty there because people know I like to swear, but I don't know if you can swear.
That's good. You absolutely can.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to.
Well, Christ almighty, if I know that, fucking A.
Okay, we're going to stop, we're going to rewind, and we're going to start over.
No.
Okay.
So.
But doing a feature in general is a big accolade.
Yes.
It's intimidating.
Especially at the director's spot, because it's I'm in post in my first feature, and it's...
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. It's been a labor of love, and it's been a long time because there wasn't enough money. That's why there's so much time put into it.
Right. I know. And people get really impatient too.
Oh yeah.
Like both of our films, they take a long time because you're still raising money to finish off the editing. And if you're doing it right, you're paying for color correction, and you're paying for sound design, and you're paying for sound editing, and you're paying a lot. If you want to do it right, you're doing all of those things. And so, a lot of people get really impatient. Where is it? When is it going to be done? I want to see it. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, no, you're not going to see it until it's perfect. Yeah. Nobody's going to get to see it until it's perfect. Right. And I get to decide when it's perfect, along with other key, key players on the production, including other producers and the cinematographer. And everyone has to sort of weigh in and say, yes, it's done. It's ready for everybody to see. So you have to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the feature film is the next big.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around that right now because the amount of money that would be required and the number of locations, it's just a hugely daunting thing. And it's, that's what I would like to do next, but I think it's a year or two out.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because I'd have to really, really get all of my ducks in a row.
Right.
And hopefully find someone with extremely deep pockets to help me finance it. Because crowdfunding is really laborious. Mm-hmm.
And you have to get good at that too.
Yeah. And I've gotten pretty good at it.
Okay, good.
But I could do better. And that's an area that I think I need to do some improvement. Mm-hmm. I'm also working on a documentary with a friend. So I kind of got a lot going on.
You are
What
so
is going
busy.
on? What are you not telling us?
You're writing books and you're making documentaries and a feature and you've got films going on and the film
production
festivals.
company and
Production company, you're teaching.
I don't, it's hard to find time to do the laundry.
Yeah, right?
So true.
And sometimes the
just
sink
throw
is
them away,
piled
get
with
new
dishes,
stuff. That's okay.
But it's just me and the kitties.
Happy,
So it's okay. It's
phenomenal.
not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I have better things to do sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm a slob. Oh my God. That's not what I'm saying.
We totally got that from everything you just said. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So, Miss Cynthia, how can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you or if they want to just contribute and donate to your films or take your classes or anything?
Oh, well, the best way I have a website. Mm-hmm. So it's www. inthemomentstudio.biz. And you can find ways to contact me there. Mm-hmm. I will probably be doing a Give to the Max fundraiser that will help with finishing funds for the Z-Fest film, that will help with more festival fees for other projects that are upcoming. And just to kind of help maintain all that needs to be maintained when you have a production company. And I would like to. I don't have a camera at the time. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of gear. I have to constantly rent things. So I would like to start getting funds to get my own gear.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the goals. And I'm on Facebook, and my last name is Uhrich, Uhrich. And I'm not going to give you my phone number. But that's how you can reach me.
Wonderful.
And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
Did I yak too much?
No.
The perfect amount.
The final question.
Okay.
Which we didn't ask last. But anyways.
Okay. No, I'm not married.
Well, good.
No, I don't want to
be. What's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Oh. Because I think as a kid, I wasn't entirely sure that I had a voice. I wasn't entirely sure that I was seen. And helping people to find their voices and to be seen and to be heard is incredibly important to me. And telling stories is incredibly meaningful. And, making films is a way of finding my place in the world. And at the same time, I think it's always been built into me that it's incredibly important to be giving back. So that means to be educating people or enlightening people on certain topics, entertaining people sometimes, and having a film out there that potentially makes somebody feel something is like, I know how I feel when I go to a movie and I'm made to feel something, or made to reflect on my life, or I'm made to reflect on the choices I make, or I look at a relationship I'm in with a new lens and maybe decide I'm not happy and I need to make changes. The power of a story to shift people's perceptions of themselves or the world, I just think that's the coolest thing ever. You know, I just really do. That probably sounds a little esoteric or a little, I don't know.
I think it sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's my truth. And
That's the best.
yeah, and it's important for people to be seen and to be heard, and for their stories to be told.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm
Thank
so
you
glad
for
that you were able to
having
be
me.
here.
Yeah.
And I got to see your beautiful face again.
Oh, right back at you, sister. And your face is pretty cute too.
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, thanks for coming on, Cynthia. It's been great for me to get to know you, because I've only heard about you through Rahana. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Stay tuned for next time.
And we'll see you on the next one, guys.